1983. Al Pacino brought us Scarface, and Breitling reinvented the chronomat. Hi everyone, and welcome to Shaluso, and yes, today is my long-awaited, long overdue review of my Breitling chronomat. If you follow the channel, then you already know that this is the watch that I got as my 30th birthday present to myself. So this watch is exactly as old as me, vintage 1991. But I should point out that this reference B13047 isn't exactly the same reference as was released in 1983. That was the reference 81950. But it still holds the same DNA that was in that original Frecce Tricolore. So we're talking about a bullet bracelet, rider tabs on the bezel, onion style crown and pushers, and 100 meters water resistance. In terms of dimensions, this is a 39mm case with 14.5mm roughly for the height. That height largely dictated by the Valjoux 7750 on the inside, which is relatively unmodified with registers at the 6, 9, and 12 with a date at the 3 o'clock. The dial on my example is a brushed blue and it has gold accents on the sub-dials. You also have a gold set of Breitling wings at the 3 o'clock, along with Breitling 1884 written underneath it. And of course, mine being the two-tone, my rider tabs as well as my crown and pushers are all rendered in 18 karat yellow gold. The bracelet is probably the biggest highlight. If I had to pick out anything from this watch that really makes it stand out, for a couple reasons. First off, its design is pretty much unlike anything that you've seen, especially in modern watches, aside from, of course, the modern Breitling chronomat, and also just its construction. For a watch that comes from the same period as those jangly Rolex Oyster bracelets, the links on this are much more tightly held together. It doesn't have very much play, but it still is extremely comfortable by virtue of them having their nice rounded profiles and being very small links that affords a lot of flexibility. It also means it's relatively easy to size. However, because it doesn't really have any micro adjustment, you do notice a little bit of play in terms of the watch moving up and down if you have it sized a little bit loose, and that is down to the height on the case itself. But apart from that, this is a phenomenally constructed watch, especially when you consider how old it is. Now, one of the things that I've really come to love about this watch, after having owned it for a couple years, is the fact that it is very versatile. Not versatile enough to wear it with a suit, for example, that I think is a little bit of a stretch. If you want to give it a bit more of a tactical look, then you can definitely go with a sailcloth strap, something like the Artem sailcloth strap, giving it a bit more utilitarian look, because at the end of the day, this watch was still meant to be a pilot's watch. That being said though, what I think this watch really serves as is just as being a standout piece. Now, I'm someone who loves the entire notion of just design from the 80s. Whether it's cars, clothing, watches, just the color palettes, the aesthetic of movies, the sonic style of music, all of it really stands out to me just because it does have a lot of life to it. It is a little bit showy, it can even be a little bit tacky, but it just has so much personality to it when you compare it to a lot of other eras. And this, I think, really embodies that. And in doing that, it makes this just so much more of a statement piece on the wrist. But the interesting thing is that it does it through its design. Even though this is a full polished watch, it doesn't have anywhere near the overly present feel of, for example, the second generation of the modern chronomat, which was sort of the bigger, full polished shiny cases, full polished bracelets, but they just shout it out so much more from your wrist compared to this. This, at the end of the day, at 39mm, it has enough presence to make its presence known, but not so much that it has to be a dick about it. And that's what I really like about this watch, is that it treads that line perfectly. It's not something that's so subtle that you never notice it, but it's not something that's so shouty that it overpowers anything else you're wearing, for example. The use of two-tone is also a great way to highlight some of the details that make this a chronomat. So having those crowns, as well as the bezel screws, which are of course emblematic of Breitling bezels, and those rider tabs all rendered in yellow gold, it just highlights those aspects that you don't really see on other watches and really just makes them shine out a little bit more on the watch compared to the standard steel version. If I had to name any downsides to this watch, well, for one thing, I will say that it is still a little bit thick at 14.5mm. It is a little bit top heavy sometimes. And also, it's definitely not something that's as versatile as some of my other watches. But at the end of the day, those are very small prices to pay for a watch that's 30 years old, still looks good today. And testament to how good it looks is the fact that Breitling even used this generation of chronomat for the current one. What got me started and interested in the Chronomat was when they released the new version in 2020. That of course is a full modern reimagining. It's got a little bit more satin finish compared to this, which is full polish. It's 42 millimeters, this is 39. And of course that has the in-house B01, while this has a 7750 on the inside. That being said though, honestly, having tried these two side by side, I realized that the design just fits more with this smaller size and with this full polish. It's weird, it somehow makes it a little bit more discreet compared to the 42mm version that actually has less polish than this. So it's crazy that I got into the Chronomat looking at the newer version and I ended up with the older version and liking that one more. And that's something that I think has really opened my eyes when it comes to vintage watches, especially when today's watches, so many of them are inspired from older models. For me, it just means that you should definitely take a look at the original. Because watches like this, for example, this I bought for 2,500 euros and it trades for roughly the same now. So it offers a great opportunity to have that look from the original, that too, without having to spend a crazy amount of money. Now, I'm probably never gonna make any money on this if I ever sell it, but I don't care because it's such a relatively low bar of buy-in compared to the newer model. Yes, the newer model is more sophisticated, it would have a warranty, you've got the better movement and the visible movement. But honestly, as far as 30-year-old watches go, this definitely gives the modern one a run for its money, while still pointing out that it was from the original era. But let me know your impressions of the Breitling Chronomat. Let me know which is your favorite generation. And also if you have any questions for me on owning this or buying one, then make sure you leave that in the comments as well. Of course, if you like this video, make sure you like it and share it. If you want to see more pictures and infographics of watches as seen throughout this and all my other videos, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Shaluso. And if you want to see more videos of watches, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell as well so you know when the next video comes out. But that's it for today's video, and we'll catch you on the next one.